I should probably promote these. Do I have my audio on? Yeah. I should probably have my schedule actually remind me about the fact that I'm doing a live event with enough time to tell people about it so that people can say, oh, I wanted to come to that. And then they can come to it. Instead of just, I guess it's working fine. To just start it and see who shows up. I guess. I never put a face on the Homath girl, and the bow in the hair is not very accurate either. Just keeping it, consistent with the original scribble that I kind of forced out. Without thinking about it. I'm opening up my chat so that I'll be able to respond to you soon. Okay, it's open. All right, Dion Lay says my favorite math class. Avocado says gotta pay the fee. Avocado Atrocity shows up here pretty much every week and gives me $5 as a joke because I don't have my memberships enabled. But I have been talking to a team who is going to do memberships on a website instead, where they're going to translate my content into 7 languages. And I haven't really done the math on it about how YouTube memberships would work compared to that, but it sounds like what they're going to do for me is a lot better. So memberships will be over there, and there's going to be a private live for anyone who's a member. And I'm going to do an hour of this, the public live, and then I'll just sort of tell you guys I'm switching to private, and if you are a member, then you get to ask me questions without doing super chats. Kyle Smith says, last week you said you can sing. Please sing for us. I wish that you'd made a request, Kyle, because I can sing lots of stuff. And I like to target it. The other day I sang, I can't remember, I think it was Frank Sinatra in a Twitter space. There was this guy, this friend of mine, I guess, I'm getting to know him, Hitch Slap, and he said something about singing. And I showed up and I said, I can sing, and he goes, what do you sing? And I can never figure out what people want to hear, so I think I did. I think it was Fly Me to the Moon. So I'll just do that for you. So this is the $10 worth of singing for Kyle Smith. Fly me to the moon and let me play among the stars. Let me see what spring is like on Jupiter and Mars. And that is not the best I can do, but you asked me while I was sitting down and drawing. So I have a much broader, what do you call it, repertoire or a palette or whatever. I can do a lot more than that. If I think of something that I'm in the mood to sing right now, I might do it later, because that was a B+ performance that I just gave. It was all right. I kind of want to sing Christian music. Fall on your knees, oh, hear the angel voices. Kind of want to just do that for the rest of the session. Arvo Justice says, how cooked is the economy? I have no idea. I'm not an economy guy. Okay, I've got the paid questions open. Son of Enki says, do you think there comes a point where you have essentially mastered a level and that becomes the new baseline in life unless something goes awry? I'm assuming that you're talking about the Wilbur levels, because that's usually what you talk about. I think you can be at a certain level and still be mastering the levels below it. So, yes, sort of. And he says also mention Patreon. So, of course, that is a great idea that I should remember to do. If you want to speak to me, go to Patreon, talk to me. Patreon, Discord. So your question was about the levels and about mastering them. And if you have essentially mastered a level, it becomes the new baseline. It's kind of the new baseline because it's where your identity goes. So when you first move up the levels in cognition, which means just your ability to understand like ideas. And then you go from cognition to I believe that it's ego or emotion. So it goes like, from the head down. The first thing that develops is that you know about a thing, right? And then you develop a relationship to the thing, and that's be your ego, like how you relate to it. And then finally, it's ego. And then ability. And that would be your like your bodily, like what you can do, what you can actually do. So this is one of the things that I'm trying to explain about level check and everybody's results. You could be getting, like, level check is only a cognitive test. So you could be getting, I got a 7 and then 2 8s and a 9, but it's only testing your cognition. So you could still have an ego that's like developed to level 6, and then you could even have your actual ability still developed to level 4. So your question, which has again moved out of the way because computers don't cooperate with me, was, do you think there's a point where you've essentially mastered a level becomes the new baseline? Well, when your ego gets there, yes. So when you start thinking about it for the first time, then it's like, oh, I never really thought of it that way. Like everybody's living their own life, and it's not all about me. That would be like moving from 3 to 4 cognitively. And then it takes a few years before you view yourself as that kind of person. And then it can take a few years still before you have the ability to live that way. And that is why we can have lots of people whose minds are developed to higher levels, but they're still living in this very selfish way. And it's all about me, me, me. And you turn on TikTok and it's all, what's on TikTok. It's all crap. So people might be higher level thinkers, but they're not higher level behaviors. So was that a full treatment of the question? Do you think there comes a point where essentially mastered a level becomes the new baseline in life? Yes, when it gets to the ego. Unless something goes awry. Yeah, I mean, something would have to go pretty badly awry. Like if you were developed to a level where you're, let's say cognitively at level 9, and then let's say that you get your ego all the way up to level 8. And you think of yourself in new ways, and you have a very well developed self, and then you're behaving at level 6, right? That's how your life works. And then you become homeless. These things are not just gonna like crash. As long as you're not starving to death, if you have food and stuff, you still are going to be able to remember these things, although you might functionally not be able to act out, unless you have your Maslow's needs met. So yeah, that's how that works. It starts as an idea, and then works its way down into your emotional system, and then eventually your behavioral. And you can, act out the ideas that you have. So that's obviously, I'm going to have to do a lot to explain this to people because I came out with the level check thing and everyone was like, oh, I'm level 9. I'm all the way at the end. I'm a sage on a mountain. And it's like, no, you took the test and you're capable of thinking about stuff in a really abstract way. But are you living it? That's the next step for level check. I have to figure out how to make the test understand how you're living. So great question, as always, Son of Enki. And don't forget, if you want to speak to me, you can go to my Patreon, and I think that it's like $10 a month, and you can talk to me in a Discord chat. And then I think that it's 15, and you get to ask me questions live on Discord. So TXDDS says, how am I supposed to watch State of Union and you at the same time? Oh, is that tonight? It really shouldn't be a tough call. You know what they're going to say in the State of the Union. It's going to be a load of... It's just the same thing. They always say the same thing. I don't think I've heard an interesting State of the Union address ever. It's all posturing. I just don't really understand listening to politicians. I remember listening to politicians, and I remember thinking like, oh, it's important to hear what they're going to say. At this point in my life, I feel like the difference between what they say and what's actually real and what they mean and what's going on is so large that it's almost like dysfunctional to listen to them talk. Because you're trying to get an idea of what's going on in the world, but a politician's language is designed to prevent you from knowing what's going on in the world. So you're just like submitting yourself to tricks when you listen to them. So yeah, the choice is clear. You should watch me. Thank you, TXDDS. By the way, your X account has been fire lately. Yes, I'm very snappy on the Twitter. Fluke, Flook, interesting spelling, says, hey, Soul Math. Well, I haven't made the change yet, but thanks. How do you like your new neighbors? I'm moving this week hoping for a better class of people in my neighborhood. Well, my landlord and his wife and his son are pretty cool. They're like, the right kind of people that you'd want to live with. My neighborhood is super, super, safe and nice. It's very pretty. Like, all the houses are really... They look expensive. They're not probably all that expensive, but they look expensive. I have a skylight. I have a view of mountains. Everyone, walks dogs and wears like Patagonia coats, like the puffy, I don't know what you call these things. I always call them like Patagonia because it's the brand name that I know. The puffy, the Michelin Man kind of. They're all outside wearing their straw zipper. They're walking their dogs with their winter coats on. It's still kind of cold here. And the, puff hat. So it looks still here, it looks kind of like where I grew up. If I go back to where I grew up, it doesn't quite look like it did when I grew up. I'm bad at drawing faces. I always just do this. That's why I do circles. Faces are hard. You kind of have to start with a shape. And then see, I already messed it up. I don't know where the nose goes. I don't know where the eyes go. I guess it's I guess that's kind of where the eyes go. I don't know where the ear goes. Sort of hiding behind the face. And then I guess there'd be no, see, I did it wrong. I guess that'll have to be the top of the lips. I don't know. Maybe I'll learn how to do faces one day. Anyway, so you say, Fluke says, I'm moving this week hoping for a better class of people in my neighborhood. Well, there's no reason to hope. There's like lots of resources that you can use to look up, demographics. You can see what kind of person lives in the neighborhood, how much they make, how old they are. You can check all that stuff out before you go. Like when I made my first really, really big move all the way to the other side of the country, I read about the demographics first, and I was like, okay, seems like a city, seems exactly like, what you'd think. And so that's what I'm signing up for. And then I went there and lived there for a while. So you could still do that. Abiosh says, can you explain the 7 points on the soul math guy? Chakras, do they correlate to aqua? Kind of. So the soul math guy is, I'll go get him out. They are just chakras, and I use them not because I necessarily think that chakras are real. I'm open-minded about that kind of stuff, but I'm not gonna give you lessons on chakras or anything. What is so interesting about them is that I don't know how long the chakra system has been a part of history. I know it comes from Eastern stuff. I don't know that much about it. It might be Hindu or something. It sounds probably Hindu. But it's been around a very long time, and the explanations of it have been around a very long time. And it's very convenient how it matches everything that we've studied in psychology. Like Maslow's hierarchy follows them, because this one is there's I'll do it instead of drawing the guy. It'll be easier to see here. Just imagine the first 7 as the 7 chakras, right? The first one is the root, and that's physical. It's like physical needs, like food and stuff. And then the second one is the sacrum, and that is like the belly button. So that's like where you're connected to your mother. So it's like, in a very literal sense, connection to others. That's what that one symbolizes. And that's connect. That's kind of one of the reasons I called it that. And then control is the under your ribs. And that's kind of the area where you get adrenaline when you're about to get in a fight, or the part of your body that I told that guy to focus on last time when he was getting nervous on dates, to just kind of calm his energy down. That's your control center. So I don't know, I believe in chakras that much, I guess, that they seem to correspond to actual physical parts of the body. I'm just not saying that there's ghost stuff. So this is the solar plexus. And that is there's no spot on Maslow for this, but it's kind of, it fits anyway. It's just sort of a step that he didn't put in, but he could have. And then there is the fourth one, which is the heart, is the belonging on Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So I should just put those there. Root, physical, sacrum, connection. Maslow calls it safety. And when he says safety, he doesn't just mean like hiding under a rock. He means the safety of having people who provide for you, care about you, like the safety of being married to a man who has money, or the safety of, being of like having a job. That's like a connect level thing. When you have a relationship with an office that you do work and it pays you money, that's this. And then this is belonging, which is why I called it belong, like Maslow. And then this one is, this one's self-actualize. What is it that comes before belonging? Expression, that's right, expression. And that's the throat. So you'd have to have something really like emotionally wrong with you to argue that the chakra system does not match developmental psychology perfectly. I don't know what it means really, but other than that, they figured it out before us. in their own way, and were spiritual about it, whereas we're scientific about it. Put my guy away. I guess I'll leave him there. Let's leave him over here. And then Ebiash also sent me an Apfel, which I haven't drawn in a while. So I guess the answer is yes, they kind of correlate to the AQAL, which, man, I can't wait to do those videos. I've got so much work coming. Apfel. I like apples. Ground man. Any thoughts on AI automation? No, very few. I try not to talk about things that I don't know about. I'm not going to tell you how to get a job or which Bitcoin to buy. I don't know much about AI. There's a small number of questions that I could answer about that. So Groundman says, in my opinion, it will probably result in a lot of people losing their jobs, even more than is currently happening. Whoa, for sure. That's like, we know that people are already losing their jobs. I heard very recently of somebody, hang on one second. It may have taken me a year and a half, but I learned to mute my microphone when I guzzle water. I learned recently, what was I saying? That there are like lawyers who are firing the people who do paralegal work because they could have an AI do it better and faster for like $10 a month. So yeah, that stuff's already happening. I don't know to what extent it will get rid of people's jobs though. I can't really speculate, because if it's not happening now, then I don't like to say that it will happen. History is full of all these stupid predictions. Like, there was a guy who very publicly in the 1800s, he very publicly wrote an article in some newspaper. I don't know which one it was. It was like the New York Times of the time or something. I don't know if they had that back then. And the article said, humanity has discovered everything that's possible to discover. We have boats and trains and, glass bottles. We've gone as far as we possibly can. Humanity can't develop. And now we're all like flying through the air and communicating through invisible magic on little squares that glow. So that was a really like embarrassing prediction. It was a really dumb thing to say. So when people say, is AI going to start driving all the trucks? Well, let me know when it does. Let me know when AI drives a truck all the way from New York to Los Angeles without killing anyone or, driving off the road without major failures. Tell me when AI can change the tires on that truck. Tell me when AI can plant potatoes and then harvest them without, I don't know, including poison that kills people or whatever. Tell me when it can do that, because until I see that, I'm not going to be able to tell you anything about like which jobs are safe and which jobs are in danger. And I think it's kind of silly. I think that people who speculate on that, like, they either are building the AI so they know what it can do, or they're just kind of trying to sound smart. AI is going to be a better wife than your wife. You're going to fall in love with AI robots. Like, show me what happens. So, Avocado Atrocity said, I said maybe. You're going to be the one that saves me. Oh, no, I'm not singing Wonderwall. I don't care. You give me $100. I'm not singing Wonderwall. I probably could. I just don't like that song. I think I was singing U2 the other day. What's that song? I can't remember the name of the song or the words of it. Oh well, I'll think of something later. Thank you, AA. That reminds me of poker for some reason. Well, I mean, I know what the reason is. I used to play a little Texas Hold'em. I saw AA after I wrote it, and I remembered the feeling of pulling up aces on the table. You just go like this, and you see your aces. And it's like, ooh, I might win, and then you don't, because it's poker, and someone draws to a straight on the river. Groundman says, why are white liberals protesting in favor of DEI? Okay, so I have gone over this in some of my videos and a lot of my tweets. If you want a lot more context on that, you want to follow me on Twitter, because I'm a lot more direct there. My YouTube stuff is more fun and, full of explanations and humorous. And on Twitter, I just kind of go like, look, here's how things work. So white liberals are in favor of DEI because they are, and see, this is, oh God, I really wish that I had my charts all done already. I'll just use this. The Kohlberg's level system, which I'm going to make a whole chart that has this level system, which is mine, and then I'm going to put it next to like the chakras and Maslow and Kohlberg, and I'm going to have every system and coordinate them. But Kohlberg's system is broken up into 6 levels, and so we'll just do, here you go. And I made a video called, I think it was Crisis. It was fairly recent. It might have been like November or something. And that's the first time that I start talking about Kohlberg's levels of development. And the difference is between the good boy, good girl level and the law and order level. So this is morals. That's the way that people construct morals, and this is not to scale. This would be like, I think that this would be Kohlberg's 1. I'm just doing this on the fly. I'm doing the thinking on the fly. I think this would be 1, and I think that that levels 2 and 3 would be 2, and then I think that levels 3 and 4 would be the good boy, good girl level. So I'll just kind of draw a bubble around that since I already drew it. And then levels 4 and 5 would be the law and order level. So, and then from there it goes up into, I think, the social contract. That would be 1, 2, 3, 4. I think it's social contract. God, it's going to be so good to have these charts done. And then it goes into principles. And principles are what I use in my work. So when I show you like zones, and I go, the more of this stuff you have, the more safe she'll feel, like that's an example of a principle. I'm that kind of thinker. And that's why people like my work so much. It makes it so clear. So your question was, why are white liberals protesting in favor of DEI? Because they're immature. They're still in like elementary school level of moral development. And the good boy, good girl level is, well, let me start at the previous levels. This one is about just getting away with stuff. Like, I just want to get my way without anybody being mad about it. The next one is called self-interest. And you understand at that level that other people are going to, be mad about what you do, and you can't just be completely selfish all the time. So you do things for others, but only because you have to. And that's level 3. That's the control level. That's like, okay, I understand that I live in a world where I can't just constantly get away with things all the time. So I'll do stuff for you because I get something for it. It's opportunistic and control. And then the next one, when you get up into level 4, the belonging level, was good boy and good girl is like, look at me, everyone. I'm doing the nice thing. I'm not just being selfish. I'm doing the nice thing, which is defined in our culture very clearly. And for them, the nice thing is DEI and feminism and all that crap that gets pushed on them. So they're not really capable of understanding yet, because they're so, they grew up glued to their TVs and eating Captain Crunch or whatever brain rot food. They're not adults. and they still think that the right way to live is to just show everyone, look at me doing the right thing, clap for me. Very long answer, but that's the reason why liberals do that, because they're spiritually little children. Groundman then says, to clarify from last time, when will the collapse reach its advanced stages? Oh yeah, he asked last time about the collapse. I.e., nobody has water or power, and if it ever does, what will cause it? We probably will not see that in our lifetimes, where like nobody has water or power, but California already has like rolling blackouts or brownouts or something. I can't remember which one it was. If you look at what do you call it? Detroit and places like that, and Flint, Michigan. They used to be really clean and functional, and now they have, was it Flint, Michigan that had the lead in the water? Our infrastructure is falling apart. So that stuff, it's a scale from like things are working to everyone's dead. I guess I'll draw this face like bleh, tongue hanging out. It's a scale from everything functions to we have to go like chase after deer and shoot them with arrows. But we are going down on that scale in a lot of places. It's hard to tell if we're going down overall. But if your question is like binary and it's like, when are we going to go from the good to the bad? You're not going to see that in the whole world. You're going to see it in areas. You're going to see it in like, there probably will be other things like Ukraine, where it's a country at peace, and then all of a sudden someone gets an idea, and then they're at war and everyone's getting shot. And like you'll probably see a bunch of things like that as people become more and more desperate and things get more and more crazy. You'll probably see more Ukraines. The U.S. might split up at some point. Like, California and Texas have been talking about seceding for a long time. Stuff like that might happen. But there's not going to be like one day that you wake up and the whole planet is off. It's more of a crumble. Think about how ancient Rome made all those nice columns, right? And they weren't ruins back then, but after long amounts of time, some of them stayed intact, and then some of them crumbled, and some of them were even more crumbled. So some places will experience it more than others, unless we turn it around, which we could. But like right now, America and a lot of the West is experiencing the crumble. Rubicon Ron is back. And thank you, Ron, again. Very generous of you. And also, I think someone else was generous. Yeah, that was Son of Enki. I really do appreciate you guys when you do that. In case it isn't clear from my excitable tone of voice. Rubicon Ron says, hard to stay positive while watching the world fall apart. Oh boy, do I ever know it. It is hard to stay positive, and so I'm trying to stay neutral. You might want to Google the word I don't know if I had to spell it. Equanimity. It's associated with on the Enneagram, which I could never draw right. Goes to there and there, and then there and there, and then that and that. Okay, I got it right. Equanimity it's like the opposite of wishing things were different. It's the opposite of like dissatisfaction, or in Buddhism they would call it dukkha. I believe it's 2Ks, dukkha, which just means the state of not liking the way reality is and wishing reality was different. Like, I wish I was taller, I wish I had more money, I wish it was not Tuesday, whatever. That's all that is dukkha. it's an all-inclusive word for every form of suffering that you can imagine. And equanimity is the opposite of that. It's associated with type 4 on the Enneagram, because type 4 is the most neurotic type. It's like the Trent Reznor type, like, oh, I'm so dark and sad and the world's so hard. And the opposite of that is, things get dark sometimes. I bet the dinosaurs had a hard time too when the comet blew them up. So I guess we're just going to do that. And that's the path through. Like, I'm not telling you that I know how to solve the problems, but I do know how to make them bother you less. And it does take a lot of work and letting go and acceptance. And you have to basically no longer need the world to be good. You have to stop needing it. It's hard to let go because it feels like if you stop needing the world to be good, then you're not going to be able to change anything, but it's actually the other way around. The more you let go, the more you can do. So get your equanimity points up. So Rubicon Ron says, hard to stay positive while watching the world fall apart. Friends don't see it. Yeah, I hate that too. I don't talk to those friends anymore. I lose my equanimity around them. There was one who texted me a while ago when Trump won, because she voted for him too and hated Biden, and she knew I would be happy about that. But the way that my relationship was with her a few years ago, I just didn't want to talk to her anymore. Friends don't see it. Yes, I hate that too. I stopped drinking and partying to better myself. Great. Friends try to get me to participate in degeneracy. Yep, that's what friends do. They are more friends with the drug sometimes than they are with you. They really want an excuse to do the thing rather than to really know you and be around you. You can be friends with those people. You can, but you have to either do what they want you to do or just accept the level of friendship that they'll offer you if you don't. I mostly have just gone away from people who want to relate to me in ways that I no longer want to be because they don't change. Let's see. Friends try to get me to participate in degeneracy to be happier. Nah. I'd still be nihilistic, but with a hangover and crotch rot, he says, which is just nice words. Yeah, it is just a fix. It is just a temporary fix. It's a Band-Aid. The drugs and the womanizing and all of that stuff. Some of my memories with women are very, very memorable and very, very positive, and they completely transformed who I am. But none of those, well, actually, before I say none, very few. I hate that I have to say that, because there were some things that I did with women that I shouldn't have, like the whole meet on the internet and then just she comes over straight away and you don't learn each other's names and it's just like complete abandon. That's not the kind of thing that I try to sell to people, but there were actually a few times that happened and went really well and no one was sad about it later. And some of those experiences are like formational experiences for me, where they helped me view myself in a way that, like, I just sort of, when I got famous overnight, I was like, well, naturally, of course I would, because those experiences helped me like myself in that way. They proved to me that I had certain value to certain people. But you are right that most of that kind of stuff, and I could get into the differences between the good kind and the bad kind, most of it is just going to be a Band-Aid on the real problem. And the best way, and not only is it only a Band-Aid on the real problem, but it probably will make things worse. You're right. When you say, what was it? A hangover and crotch rot. Yes, there's a significant chances of both. So yeah, don't discount the idea that a relationship could help you. And if it is a sexual one, and if it's just a girl who's going to be there for a short time, and I won't get into it right now, but maybe you could email me later or something, and I'll expound on it for you. You have to make really, 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 really sure that it's not a situationship that's going to hurt her feelings, and you have to make sure you're not making a bad choice and she's not making a bad choice. But if you have, some kind of relationship, even if it's a short one, it can bring you wholeness and completeness and, self-appreciation. So don't discount the idea completely. Just don't go running around at clubs and do filthy stuff. So I think that I addressed that whole thing. It is hard to stay positive, I understand, but just write this word down or something. Do like a live, laugh, love thing with equanimity. Put it somewhere so that you remember it. And remembering what the word means will help you think about it, and thinking about it more will help it take place in your soul or whatever. Mr. Playlist Man says, "Sup, Mr. Math, what makes us different from doomsayers that freaked out in the 60s and 70s that started enclaves?" I don't know. I don't know who they were or what they did. We may be correct about the crash, but what if it is in 3 more decades or just a smaller crash like in 2008? Well, what makes us different from anyone who was talking about this kind of stuff in the 60s and 70s is observable, data, observable trends, like who is able to buy houses and who is having children and stuff like that. Just the birth rate alone is enough to answer your question. What makes us different from doomsayers in the 60s and 70s? They were having kids. We're dying off. And so is South Korea and Japan, and that's absurd. If you haven't really wrapped your mind around that issue yet, you should, because we're basically, I had a new page. The birth problem thing is like, sometimes I don't know how to draw these from memory. There are these charts that you can see that look like this. And it's basically the male and female population, and it's usually fairly symmetrical. But if there's a war, if this is the male and this is a female, if there's a war, there could be like a dip on the male side, But otherwise, it's usually somewhat symmetrical. Like this corresponds to this, and this corresponds to this, because that's just like when more children were born and fewer children were born. And if you look at this stuff, this would be, I think, this would be present, and this would be past, I think. I'm not all that familiar with these charts. But if you look at the one we're in now, it's just like the baby boomers are up here, There's a lot of them. And then there was like Generation X, and then the millennials were kind of a big generation. And it's just kind of going like this, like all the people are going away because we hate each other so much. No one wants to get married, and there's no rewards, and they're, all the people are just not gonna be anymore. That one issue alone is a completely paradigmatic takeoff from the 60s and 70s. Those people just took acid, and they were like, "Oh, everything's weird, man." So, and that's only one thing, and there's a bunch of other things. Hang on. All right. I might have to actually get up and get more water. I don't know why, but I'm always so thirsty during my lives. I think it's probably because I have to sit in one place, and then my body just goes, "Oh, in that case, I'm dissatisfied." Andrew paid $2 to say you're in Seattle, which is not correct. I did go to Seattle on my trip from August to, was it November? Yeah, it was August to November. I did visit Seattle, and I saw some cool stuff, but also some depressing stuff. I visited somebody I know in Seattle, and we did an event, and the event had a tour guide, and the whole time that she was giving us the tour, she was like doing feminist yip yap, and we just kept rolling our eyes at each other. Seattle. What song is that? I left my heart in San Francisco, New York, New York. Is there a Seattle song? In Seattle. Ground Man says, how to deal when liberals say stupid things and expect me to agree. Just don't. There's a lot of different ways that can go. Maybe I could draw you a map. Maybe I could do just like a grid of... this might be something that takes me a little bit more time. Because I'm trying to think of like when they say something that you don't agree with, I guess that would just be the chart, would be don't agree with libtard chart. The don't agree with libtard chart. So then I guess this would be like how much you agree from 0 to 100 to negative 100. That would be agree. And then this would be, I guess, how important it is to them from 0 to 100. I'm trying to make you a chart on the fly. It's pretty hard. So if you don't agree with it, this is how much you agree with them and how important it is to them. And then you would have to just, apply their standard way of thinking. And you would have to identify if you agree with them and it's not important, then they don't care very much. If you agree with them and it's very important, then they don't actually like you a whole lot more. I probably should have done it that way. See, this is why I do charts in my personal time, because I get the axes wrong. So dumb. So negative 100. You know what? I'll do it for you later. If you mapped all that out, you could draw like a line from how much am I going to lose by fighting with this person? How much power do they have over my life? And how much am I going to lose? And then how much do I gain by lying, and how important is that to me? You just got to identify the variables there. In my case, I got so sick of not just screaming at them and telling them how dumb they are that I left the best life that I had ever had. I just moved away because I couldn't stand them anymore. Yeah, I'll finish this later, but you have to be realistic about what you stand to gain and lose by agreeing and disagreeing with these people. And he says also draw forlorn leghorn. Forlorn. I guess I could just kind of do the eyes and then make them forlorn. I don't know if you meant to say foghorn or if this was a joke from last time or something. But I guess I could just like draw the bird, the beak, and like he's crying or whatever. So he's forlorn. I don't know, someone died or something. It's just a rooster. It's not particularly foghorn leghorn. Jack Cool says, divorced with a small child, actually managed to crush my ex, got custody, child support, etc. Does this increase my bad boy score or not? Draw a jaguar cat, please. Jaguar cat. That reminds me of an old Just Shoot Me, an old TV show called Just Shoot Me, where Joe Rogan played like a dumb jock who was dating the the main character chick, and he like doubled up on his words, and she bought him a Yankees jacket, like a New York Yankees jacket, and he said, "You bought me a Yankee jacket coat," and she's like, "It's just either jacket or coat." And they spent the time making fun of her because she was dating a dumb guy, a jaguar cat. I'm not calling you dumb. It's just funny the way that you said that. So yeah, divorce with a small child, managed to crush my ex. Does that increase your bad boy score? That depends on. Oh, I wonder if I have this still. There was a video I meant to do a very long time ago. Someone asked me something over email, and I gave him a private video for it because I was just in the mood to do that, and it took me 2 minutes. And then I meant to shoot the longer video. I never got around to it, and I don't know if I have the paper. Oh, I do. There it is. Okay, so the way that works, if you don't know, what was your question exactly? How, if it increases your bad boy score or not? It has to do with whether or not the new girl you're dating hates the old girl or not. So if the new girl you're dating feels identified with your ex, she's going to feel bad about you crushing your ex. If your new girlfriend feels like your ex is awful and she was wrong and you were in the right, then that will increase your points, yes. Winning increases your points. Winning against bad guys, including if the bad guy is a woman. So the reason that's related to this is because there was a guy who watched my content and he learned about, the good guy, bad boy stuff. And there were some protesters here. That's the yellow ones. And they had their signs that said, gimme and wah. And he was with his girlfriend, and he pushed through them. He did what he thought was a bad boy thing. And he was like, he used force and they were intimidated by him, and he pushed through and he gave them a bad day. And then later his girlfriend was like, I didn't like that. That made me uncomfortable. And he's like, if that was a bad boy thing to do, why didn't she like it? And the reason was because she feels identified with the protesters. They got to her. The fifis got into her. So she felt like he was attacking someone who was with her. You have to know, does she identify with this person or not? Because if she doesn't and she thinks that they're gross and then he did that, she would have been like, I love that. But because she did identify with them, like that's why this stuff is so poisonous. Because if she identifies with them, then he has to like let them push him around and do this nonsense. And then she won't respect him for that either. That's why it's hard dating liberals. They're just like, you just lose no matter what. Just lose every which way. They just redefine everything as I win, like 3-year-old kids. Good question. That was one of the more fun questions to answer. Ibrahim Zaki says, what would your practical advice be for a hikikomori or a shut-in? I don't think that it would really deviate from the general advice that I give people, which is, I'll draw it again. And in case you guys don't know, I have a website that you can do this stuff on, selfmax.ai, and you can go subscribe, and it'll teach you how to self-actualize, how to bring yourself to a higher point of competence and control over your life and making your life happen the way that you want it to. That's what it does. So in case anyone doesn't know, this is the symbol that I use for Self-Max. It's just a red upwards arrow. I use a red arrow in my content sometimes too. And it just symbolizes always making better. Always be making life better. Always be going somewhere. Like me right now, doing this live. It's not just nothing. I'm making money. I'm creating content. I'm getting people to like me. I'm impressing people with my brilliance. I'm making stuff happen. I'm not just letting life collapse around me. So what self-max is a very detailed explanation of how to do that. And I can't give you the whole explanation right now because it's very long, but it involves, knowing what you want, figuring out where other people have gotten it before, figuring out what you would need to do to make that happen, going to try it. There's also an exercise in there for if you don't know what you want, there's an exercise to help you figure that out. So it's pretty comprehensive, and it's going to become extremely comprehensive as we build it out. So yeah, my advice is make stuff happen. Go make things happen that you want to happen. And learn from it when you fail, because you're going to fail. Okay, I better get through these questions faster. They're piling up. Alexa in the Forest says the value of women plummets after 35. True. How can a female in their 40s to 50s self-max? Well, it's the same thing. You have to be realistic. If you're 3 feet tall or you're blind or you're in a wheelchair, you can still self-max. It's just your max might be lower. And you got to be realistic about that. It's not about being a 10. It's not about getting to the top. I guess I just draw a chart over here. Self-maximizing is not about being a 10 out of 10. It is about reaching for being a 10 out of 10. And you might have times where you go back down, but you should be trying not to go back down. You should always be trying. So I'm not selling anybody the idea that I can make you a 10. I am selling the idea that I can make you understand more about what you want and why you want it and how you can try to get it for yourself. Very realistic. I'm not saying that self-maximizing means getting out of the not people zone. I'm not saying it means that you're gonna get laid or get married. What I'm saying is that you're going to let's finish drawing forlorn leghorn here. What I'm saying is that you're going to get a better idea of what it means to be the author of your own life and to be in control of your own life and to be the most you that you can possibly be. You're just going to get a better idea of it, and that dramatically increases your chances of actually making it happen. I just said that I was going to answer these questions faster, and then I didn't. So yeah, as long as you're moving, and even if you're like a grandmother, you can still self-max. You just have to be realistic about what that means. Maybe it's just like baking nicer bread for your grandkids and having value for others around you in that way. It's not all about just being sexy. It just so happens that people who are really good at it are more attractive. Just so happens. It's like, oh, maybe there's a reason for that. Maybe life is kind of designed that way, where human beings instinctively notice other human beings who are highly competent and, have the power to transform their lives. So yeah, there's always, even if you're going down, you can always be trying to go up. Fra Planner says, does it mean something when a random girl smiles when she looks at you? Yeah, usually, sometimes. It depends what kind of smile and what kind of girl and where it was. If you're in a public place where there's absolutely no reason to do that, it is more likely to mean something. If it's like a cashier or someone who has to interact with you, it's much less likely to mean something. So if you're just out and around in public and there's a girl like glaring at you, if you're just walking around doing whatever, carrying groceries or something. Let's give you a grocery bag there. And there's some girl who's like looking at you like this. Just looking right at, and you look back at her and she still looks at you and smiles, and you're just like on the sidewalk and she's on the sidewalk going the other way. And like the what are the variables here? I'm trying to make another chart again. The less that she has to interact with you and the more that she pays attention to you, the more it means something. So maybe I could make that one really quick. So then this would be obligation to interact with you, and then this would be attention, like how much she actually gives you. And so if she's very obligated to interact with you and she's giving you a lot of attention, see, I really got to stop trying to do charts live. I need more time to think than that. If she's very obligated to talk to you, then it doesn't really matter how much attention she's giving you beyond a certain point. Like, it's possible to tell when a girl is giving you attention above and beyond what is necessary for her position. Like if you go to Hooters, the waitresses will sit down next to you and call you honey and like touch your shoulder and stuff. And that makes dumb guys go, oh, she's giving me a lot of attention. She must like me. But no, that's just part of her job. So what I'm saying is the lower the obligation and the higher the attention, the better chances that she's going to be happy when you say something. I'll draw that one out later too. I cannot do that kind of thinking on my feet. John M. says, if she's level 3 and I'm level 5, what can we expect? Well, I'm so glad you asked. Let's have a chart for that. Okay. Let's go to the level 3, level 5 section. So then you said if she's level 3 and I'm level 5, so you'll be partner 1, she'll be partner 2. All right. Level 5 is you, level 3 is her. If you are competent, if you have money and your life is in control and you are providing what she wants, then you are going to be the in charge around here guy, which means that she's going to be silly and her emotions are going to control her and she's going to try to get one up on you and she's going to say, well, you didn't buy me enough, you didn't take me, and you have to say, hey, I'm in charge around here because you are the rational one. I have to develop this chart a little bit more because if she overpowers you and she's level 3 and you're level 5, then I think that would just be cuck. I think that's what I would write there. I think it would just be cuck because if she really is at level 3 and you're not capable of, reining her in and providing a stronger force than she is providing, then she's just going to run over you like a train. So don't let her do that. Like if you seriously think that the girl you're dating is at level 3 and she is not like crazy about you and like always defers to you and just goes, okay, well, I don't like it, but I know you're always right, so just do it. Like that should be the worst that it gets. And if it gets worse than that, then you probably should not be bothering. That's not true about girls at higher levels. At level 4 and higher, they can say, well, I don't like this, but we made a commitment and we're doing the right thing. Like the idea of doing the right thing just doesn't exist down there. So that's what you can expect. Ninja SK1 says, what is IQ? I've heard people say things like, we don't know what IQ tests measure, but we know it measures something related to intelligence. So that is a very intelligent question. It's a very fancy question. And they're right that it's not like extremely precise, but I can describe it, but my description of it might be the same as the descriptions you've already heard. So hang on a sec. Yeah, I'm out of water. I'm going to have to get up in a minute. So I'm tempted to do another chart again. It's the don't agree with libtards chart. So what is IQ? IQ is, it stands for intelligence quotient. And you may remember from third grade math that quotient is when you divide. So just in case there's anyone who doesn't know what that means, like if you divide 10 by 2, then the quotient is 5. And if you multiply, it's a product, right? So then what are you dividing to get your intelligence quotient? Well, it's your score versus the average score. The mean or the median or the mode or something. I don't know how they actually calculate it, but it's your score on the test compared to everyone else. It's comparative. So when you get your intelligence quotient, it's where you fall on the scores that people got on that test. And the scores almost always come out like this in uniform populations. Like when populations are very different, sometimes there's like a double curve or something, depending on several factors. But your quotient is the score you got divided by the average score shows you like where you end up, if you're high or low. Now, the tests have changed a lot over the years, and they've done things like they had to recognize that you can't use vocabulary words because someone who knows the word will get a higher score. And that doesn't mean you're smarter. It means you've heard the word before. Like being more intelligent doesn't guarantee that you're going to hear a certain word. So they had to work to get all that, to get rid of all that stuff. And they basically simplified it down to those like pattern recognition tests. Most of the IQ tests that I've seen are just like pure pattern recognition, where they'll have like a line that goes like this, and then one like this, and then one like that, and then they have one that goes like that, and one like that, and one like that, and then over here they'll have like one like this, and one like this, and then they go, what's that? And you have to be able to recognize that it's rotating 45 degrees clockwise in each one, so that click would be straight up and down. And then they give you choices. So most of them just measure pattern recognition, and pattern recognition is a very, 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 very close proxy for anything that it is appropriate to call intelligence. So people get into all these blah, 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 yak fits. They just get into I'm just going to draw a loud mouth. People get into all these talking fits about like, what is intelligence? Maybe being able to like know what colors are is intelligence, and maybe like being able to pick up a heavier weight is intelligence. Maybe dancing is intelligence. But these are bad faith arguments almost all the time. Like we know when someone is better at math, then that means that they are more intelligent. We know when someone is better at reading and writing, that means that they're more intelligent. We know that lawyers and doctors and engineers are more intelligent, than people who are not able to do those things, like people who try to get into law school and can't. We know that the people who try and can are smarter. We know what intelligence is. Everybody knows what it is. So when people argue with you about, maybe intelligence is how many different kinds of bread you have in your house, it's like, well, you're just deliberately obscuring it because you don't like the idea that different people have different kinds of intelligence. So To my knowledge, I believe that IQ tests are mostly or entirely just pattern recognition, which is a very, very close proxy for what intelligence is if it's not intelligence itself. Because, again, if we go back to the, that your cognitive line grows first, you have to be able to notice what's happening before you can relate to it or act on it. So you have to be able to coordinate things. You have to be able to say, hey, every time my wife, won't make eye contact with me, it's because, she broke something of mine. And then if you never figure that out, then you're bad at recognizing patterns. If you figure it out the second time, then you're good at recognizing patterns. So like that, this may or may not be just pattern recognition. The cognitive line, it might just be pattern recognition. And then people will argue about IQ, like, but what about someone who has more empathy? And it's like, that's just what you do with your intelligence. It's not intelligence, it's what you do with your intelligence. So I can say that much. I can't get any closer than that, though. I don't know if pattern recognition is the same thing as IQ, but I know that it is either very close or is just a way to measure it. So, good question. Mr. Brian Larocque, I think it's Larocque. Mr. Brian LaRoque. Hi, HM. Your live streams have been a bright spot. Oh, good. Thank you. What's your opinion on partaking in the college party culture? Not worth it. I don't think that there's anything... Like, I went to a bunch of college parties. None of them are my good memories. I don't have any good memories from that. It's all socializing with a bunch of people that I don't know and don't want to know. And there's fights, and sometimes it's expensive. I remember it being crowded and smelly and sweaty, and there was a frat house. I remember that I almost got in trouble a few times, and I saw people get in fights and stuff. I don't think that there's anything in it that is nutritive for who you want to be. Some people have fun with it, I guess. I didn't. You have to really be like an extrovert. You have to be the kind of person who you gotta love being social for its own sake, I guess. I don't really know how to describe the type of person who... I'm just gonna label this one for anyone who comes in late. Someone asked me to draw Forlorn Leghorn. And I don't know if it was a typo or not, but I just drew him sad. So yeah, no, I don't know what kind of person enjoys college parties, but ain't me. I went to them to try to fit in, and I just never... I never fit in. I never liked them. I still would not do anything like that. I know what kind of socializing I like to do. I would much rather go to a board game night at one of those goofy, a brewery with the sticky board games. I would much rather socialize that way than go out to a club with all the, naked drunken people. You just got to know how it works for you. I guess some people do the college parties just fine. Fra Planner says, our love language is real. I don't have an answer to that, but I heard someone recently say that everybody has all the love languages. And it's just some of them are more important to you. And that made much more sense to me. I don't think that people are like Pokemon and you're just born with a... I only receive love from things that happen at the beach, And if you don't bring me to the beach, then you don't love me. I don't think that it's quite that the categories are quite that hard. Just trying to draw the beach, the sun over here. I think that everybody you know, feels loved when they get gifts and when they spend quality time and when, what was another one? Touch. I think everybody, has their appreciation for that as well. And it's mostly just language. Like when people are talking about my love language is they're just sort of saying what they like the most or what they believe they like the most. People are not always right about what they like, People will often say, I like this, this, and this because they think they're supposed to, but they're actually enjoying something different. So I don't have a very strong grip on that, but I heard somebody talk about that, and I think that they were probably right. That we all have all of them. Groundman says, how to organize rally against the left so we don't become South Africa when they control so much and a large portion of people still support them. You're before you go too crazy on the questions, Groundman, like a lot of this stuff is better addressed elsewhere, uh, rather than on the lives. It's like the way that I understand what you're saying. I understand that the way that these people are behaving is just like it's been unbelievable and it's been intolerable and we have to do something about it. But I'm not really sure how I'm supposed to talk about rallying against them on the live session. I know that organization is really important and you have to know people in real life and you have to be connected. You have to bring some skills to the table. I know that local politics is important. Like if you can run for office or help the right candidate run for office. Like there's a guy, Jeremy. I believe it's Jeremy Kaufman. I believe. And he is a popular voice on Twitter, and he talks about politics all the time. And he's in New Hampshire. And at one point, he was talking to me and trying to sell me on New Hampshire. I didn't end up going back, but I might still move to New Hampshire at some point. And the reason that I might is because of what these people are doing there. Him and his associates, they are turning New Hampshire into kind of a libertarian free place. And it sounds really, really cool. It sounds like much, much closer to the way that I want to live than any of the blue or red states. Like the red states are just kind of boring and ugly mostly. And then the blue states have all the nice scenery, but then you go to jail if you have a toothpick. Oh, you could have poked somebody with that. That's the same as murdering all the babies in Lesotho. That's scary. Like blue states are so scary. The way that the people are just brainwashed against themselves. So yeah, I guess it's a very vague answer, Groundman, but you just kind of have to like get organized with people. You have to meet people who have your same interests. You have to accumulate skills. You have to be able to actually do stuff that makes a difference. It's not just about holding up signs and shouting. It's about actually controlling fulcrums of power. You have to find them and actually control them. I'm going to need to get some water. I'm getting dry. Groundman says, how much of the media, in your opinion, do you think is lying to us? I mean, I'm going to go with definitely more than 80%. It's hard to know what you mean by how much of the media. Like, how many channels? I think all of them lie at some point. How many messages? Let's measure it by, like, truth claims. So let's say instead of like how many channels, let's just say like every statement of fact would count as like one truth claim. So if they go, Donald Trump is racist, right? Then that would be something that they're portraying. I don't know how to draw this either. That they're portraying as a fact that's actually just an opinion or a judgment or a whatever. And so that would be a lie. So you would just kind of go like true, lie. You just put one under there and they go, oh, the weather is going to be sunny today. And it's like, okay, that's fine. And they go, the Pope went surfing today and that was true. And you put it there. So if you did it by messages, I think that you would probably be shocked to see how many of the messages that are just like not true compared to the ones that are. I think that it would be if you could actually analyze that somehow, which is very difficult to do because people will argue about like, well, what is truth? What's true and what's a lie anyway? But if you could know that, I think that you'd be shocked. I think most people would be shocked at how many messages coming from the media are just flat out lies. Heard a lot of leftists saying Trump is a convicted R man, an SAer. Yeah, I don't know if I've heard anyone say that, but that's something that they would say because they're completely detached from reality. Also, opinion on Trump. I mean, he's not going to change the whole country. I I'm not seeing him do a very good job at the deportations, which we need a very, very large number of, or things are going to continue to be bad. And he seems not to be really moving on that. And I'd like to see that happen. I don't think that he's going to like bring back all the manufacturing. I don't think that he's capable of just like creating a golden age or that he necessarily even wants to. It's just that I don't know if I'd even say he's a good president, but he's the best president in my lifetime. It's just that most of the presidents have destroyed the country aggressively, and I don't think that he's doing that. I think he's going. Here's what I'll say about Trump. Um, uh, this country was good at one point. Probably the best country that the world has ever seen. We've had a lot of power and wealth, and it's an amazing place to live. So we may have been the best country in the world at one point, and it's gone mostly down since then. So what I will say about Trump is that during the Biden years, it was like this. It was just going straight to hell. So with Trump, we are either going back up or at least like less down in terms of just quality. So he either slowed the crash or has brought us back up in the other direction. But I am not able to judge which. I don't know if this country is still getting worse right now or if he's actually making it better. And even more than that, I don't even know if he wants to. A lot of these people just, like I said, he's a politician. If you make a practice of believing politicians, you're silly. Josh B says the Soul Math rebrand might help first impressions, but your message is unpopular no matter what. Harsh humorous truth is your niche. Own it. If people want softer restraint, they have Jordan Peterson. Yeah, maybe. I'm going to do, I think, like a poll because all of the people who are in the demographics that I'm seeking, particularly, women of ages 18 to 60, who are educated, especially, and vaguely believable as liberal, like that demographic. When I speak to them about the name, they say that Soul Math is much better. They go, "Oh, I like that so much better." They there's the emotion in their voices. So I'm just gonna see how people feel about it. I'm not just gonna rebrand right away. I'll do my due diligence. But thank you for weighing in. Okay, my mouth is too dry. I get water. BRB. It'll be like less than 1 minute. Hang on. Okay, I am no longer BRB. I am just B. Kristen Goodnight says, if women are too emotional to be logical, but men act out violently when emotional, wouldn't that make men the real emotional liability? No. Complex question, and it actually, I think that I'm going to put that on my video list. I think I'm going to, are men or women more emotional? Are M or F more emotional? I'll have to remember to write that down. So, first of all, nobody who anyone takes seriously is making the argument that women are too emotional to be logical. The argument is that women are more emotional, they're more affected by negative emotion, which is a scientific fact. And the more you are affected by negative emotion, the more quickly you become irrational. So men are more rational than women, more commonly rational than women, more often, and they remain more rational than women under similar levels of stress. Women go from rational to irrational under a significantly less stress and negative emotion than men. So that is the actual claim. It's not like women are just garbage who should shut up. It's just that the average woman is a lot less capable of staying rational. So, yeah, the next part of your question is men act out violently when emotional. They do more than, well, I'm not sure if it's more actually. I don't know that because I know that there's a lot of physical violence coming from women that goes unreported. I've been hit by several girlfriends, and in a serious way too. One of them threw a Yankee Candle at me, and one of them attacked me with a knife. Like I've been. There was one girl who went crazy, went off her meds. I think I spoke about her in a recent video. I was trying. Yeah, I did. I was trying to take care of her. She was having a hard time. I let her live with me, and she went off her medication. Turned out to be just like completely upside down insane, and eventually like assaulted me. And I called the police. And the police typically just arrest the man, no matter what. So there's a lot of like women being violent that just people look away from it. They pretend it's not happening. So when men get emotional, they may or may not get violent more often than women. And when they do get violent, they do more damage. So when you say, doesn't that make men the real emotional liability? Well, they do more damage when they get emotional. They do more physical damage. But there's more than just physical damage. When women become emotional and irrational, which again, they do more frequently and under lower amounts of stress than men, they can do, I forgot what the term was for it. Someone yelled at me for saying this one. It's relational violence, or GSSR, which is gossip, shaming, rallying. I forgot what the second S was. But women can cause lots of damage by spreading rumors and lies, and by one of the things that just the kind of trashy woman that I make videos about, one of them, what they'll say to me is they'll go on in my comments or something and they'll go incel. That's shaming. They're trying to rally everybody to call me bad names so that I am identified as a person to attack. I've seen this happen in my life many times, and I've seen some really bad videos about it, where a woman will get caught doing something bad, and then she will just accuse the guy who caught her of sexually harassing her or something, and then the white knight, the idiot, good boy, will come running out of the shadows and like beat the hell out of this guy who didn't do anything. So like woman does something bad and then gets caught by this guy with his finger up here. Hey, I saw you do that. And then she goes, help. Oh, he's being very mean to my delicate female body. Oh, help me. And then this guy over here hears and comes out. Oh, I drew his chest wrong. That'll just be his arm. He comes with brings the muscle. And then he comes running. And, puts the hurt on this guy. So, like, women do lots of things to cause other people harm, whether it's physical or whether it's directly violent or indirectly violent. Like, this is indirect violence. This is her lying because she got caught doing something bad. She's telling a lie. I don't know how to draw a lie. I just go like I guess I'll do a winky face and a smile for a lie. I guess that works. So she's lying to make this guy think she needs help, and then he comes and does the violence for her. Women do things that cause harm. There's more than just direct physical harm. And the reason that this country is falling apart is because of this feminine form of violence. It's the reason that the whole Western world is falling apart, because nobody stops women when they are nasty like that, when they lie and destroy men's lives, and when they, manipulate their way to the top, and when they all get together in a group and go, this is where we're doing this now, or else. And then some guy goes, hey, you can't do that. And then, the idiot white knight comes over and says, oh, leave the lady alone. And then he, is a cop sometimes. Like that story where the girl I was living with went crazy. The cops are just like white knight male feminists that you have to pay for. The cops are believe all women by default. Think about how much power that is. That's basically the law, is that if a woman says something bad about you, you're just going to jail. So, in a word, no, Kristen. The real emotional liability, no. Hang on. There's many different factors that you have to understand to know how much harm a person is going to do when they get too emotional to control themselves. But it is definitely not clear that men are either more emotional or more dangerous when they're emotional. It's not at all. Good question, though. Jack Cool says, my ex was so evil that the lady social workers that got involved made exceptions to their rules to testify on my behalf. I usually just get respect. I don't know what you mean by that last sentence, that I usually just get respect, but I understood the first part. Having an ex that was so bad that the social workers actually go against their, always take the girl's side rule, and just wow, this bitch is evil. This poor guy. They just hate men, but also you did nothing wrong. I can't be that evil. That's what the cops did when the crazy girl attacked me. I called them and they showed up, and I didn't know that at the time. I didn't know that they were like that, but they showed up and they, they had to drag her to an ambulance because she was losing her mind. And, they sat me down and they said, usually whenever we have a domestic, we just arrest the guy, but it's very, very clear that what's going on here. So we're actually not going to do that this time. He talked to me like it was the first time that had ever happened. So yeah, that was a good question to follow, that first one. But I don't know what you mean by I usually just get respect. I don't know from whom. But yeah, I know what you mean. Oh, Xenia is here. Just getting to know you guys. Xenia says, hi, last week someone asked why women get tattoos. Why do you think females, are adopting traditionally male value metrics to prove their worth, earn respect? I think that it is also an immaturity thing. I answered a question earlier about the Kohlberg moral levels, about how liberals are so, childish because they're still stuck in this good boy, good girl phase, where they're like, I'm doing the thing that we all agree is good, and so you have to like me. I think that there's a combination of things that results in women behaving masculine. One of them is at level 6, there tends to be a reversal. I'll get out my chart again. I remember going through this, and I remember starting to go through it pretty early, like in high school, where there's a time in your development, there's a stage in your development or a window where as a man, you begin integrating the feminine, and as a woman, you begin integrating the masculine. So that could be it, and that would be level 6. Up here, it says, I don't know if you can see, I'll zoom in. It says role reversal, sensitive man, independent woman. So this is the man being feminine, the woman being masculine. A lot of relationship stuff is not working very well right now because this is an unstable level. It might be the most unstable level. It might be even more unstable than this. And that is because, you got to go through it to grow up and to get to the good one. But men who are feminine like this, they tend not to be as impressive to women as guys who are more like, yeah, I'll kick everyone's ass, or yeah, I do what I'm supposed to do, and I'm, just like my father, and I've taken on his business, or yeah, I invested all this money and I invented a thing or whatever. And then they get up here and they go, I'm the most sensitive guy around, and women are like, not so much, what does it for me? So it could be some of this, and it probably also is more of this. It's probably more the lower level than it is the higher level, which would be enabling. So the tattoo thing, the expressing yourself with tattoo things, it's not so much masculine as it is wild. And women are wild. Men are not more wild than women. It's just that we have we're much more forgiving of men when they get a motorcycle and get tattoos and do wild stuff, because we go, oh man, boys will be boys, right? But when a woman does it, we go, ugh, no one's ever gonna love you or want to have kids with you or anything. You're ruining yourself. And this is the level, again, level 6 is the one that's telling everyone that that's okay and you can do what you want because of the role reversal, and you have to discover yourself and everything like that, which there isn't anything wrong with doing that. You just have to do it in a way that doesn't dissolve this and send us all back down here. And I think that some of it might be self-discovery and self-authorship, which happens at this stage, but most of it is probably, you can't tell me what to do, and tattoo if I want to. I got it for me. Like, I think that that's most of it. That I got it for me indicates probably this. Like, if there's a girl who has tattoos and you say, why did you get those? I got them because I want to, because for me, because I like them. Probably level 3. And if it's, oh, this tattoo, I got it because my uncle told me something when I was 7. And I was thinking about it for, like, that's more when it's considered. When there's a reason for it, that represents the higher level of development. And when it's just like, shut up, I'll do what I want, then it's that level. Good questions today. Either that or I got smarter. I don't know. Maybe I'm just in a better mood than usual. Hang on. Yeah, thank you, Xenia. Good to hear from you again. Obviously says, thoughts about YouTube channel Mr. Freeman. Are you saying you want my thoughts on the YouTube channel called Mr. Freeman? I've never heard of it. Or are you calling me Mr. Freeman? And you want to hear my thoughts on the Phrase YouTube channel? I'm guessing that I just haven't heard of the channel, Mr. Freeman. Sorry. Maybe I'll check it out later. Groundband says, do liberals actually believe in the dumb stuff? They say some of them, yeah. I think more than you'd be happy to know about. I think that a lot of them do actually believe that. When I was about, 25, 26, I knew a girl who got really mad at me when I said that men are stronger than women. And she was just like screeching and screeching about how she can do pull-ups. And it's like, yeah, you're one girl though. Like if one girl can work out, oh, I forgot to zoom out. Excuse me. Sorry. She was just kind of screeching and screeching about, I can do pull-ups and I was in the army, and, you know, the idea that men in general are, I drew that one too. See, this is why I like having my charts. Because I like being able to pull them up without drawing them. So the bimodal distribution, like this is man's strength and this is woman's strength. This would be man's tolerance for negative emotions, woman's tolerance for negative emotions. There's different ones. And she's like up here, doing what an average man could do, or maybe a little bit more. And when you say men are stronger than women, she goes, but I'm here. A lot of them do believe that, yes. A lot of them do believe the things they say, and it's way too many. It's a much higher number than is tolerable. I gotta put that away so it doesn't get ripped. That's one of the ones I want to keep. Okay. Why would anyone normalize obesity? To be nice. I mean, I could go back to this one again, but it's the good boy, good girl thing. They saw it on TV. The TV said, good boys and girls say that fat is beautiful. And so they all go, yeah, fat is beautiful. I think it more than you. I think that fat is beautiful even more than you do because I'm the goodest boy. That's what's going on in their minds. They saw it on TV. D says, all this talk and theory, very interesting and accurate. Love the channel, but just stay single, guys. It's a much better lifestyle. I mean, I'm doing that. I'm not recommending it to everyone, but I am doing it. But then again, I am old and full of baggage. It's a much better lifestyle. Relationships are for youngsters who don't know better. To some extent, you're right, D. It's just D with a period. To some extent, you are right. Relationships are going to be painful, and in many cases, they're going to be more painful than you even imagined. I'm glad that I had some of them. There was that one bad one really early on that taught me a lot about women and about life. I'm not glad I had it, but I'm glad that I learned what I learned from it. I wish that there was a nicer way to learn, like if maybe somebody made cartoons about it and posted them to the internet. That would have been cool. There are some relationships I've had that I am just glad I had, and they didn't end poorly and nobody hurt anybody. There were a lot of very rewarding relationships. It is possible to do that, but you have to be, like a emotionally developed person. You have to meet another emotionally developed person, and then you have to both happen to be, like financially capable of having the relationship you want. And a lot of things have to come together in order for the relationship to be rewarding like that. But I've had several of them, and I'm glad for that. So for the average two people right now, unfortunately, like a few decades ago, the average person would be able to find somebody, have a relationship, get married, and be happy, relatively to being alone a few decades ago. Now I think the average person is going to have difficulty doing that, whether it's because of the emotional immaturity, or whether it's because of a lack of money, or because of just other, major changes happening in our landscape. but it doesn't mean that it's not possible. So if you're the kind of person who, gives up because something gets more difficult, then I guess there's nothing I can say to you about that. I like a challenge. It gets me into trouble sometimes. I went hiking a few years ago when I was not out of shape, but not in the best shape, and I bit off more than I could chew, and I almost got stuck on a trail overnight. Because I just like having something difficult to do. So I don't know. I don't know, D. I don't know if I would tell them to stay away from relationships. Ebiash is here. Hello. I know you. It seems like everything in life reinforces more of itself, forming vicious or virtuous cycles. Is that what Jesus means by whoever has will be given more? Oh, you're talking about the Matthew principle. Yes. I think that you do have that right. So when Jesus says, I can't remember the exact phrase, but he says, I'll draw it for you. And then I need more water. I actually might need it now. I'll draw you a king. There's a master, right? With jewels in his hat. And he has 3 servants. Let's give him like king robes. So there's a guy who he's got 3 servants, and he gives them all like this. I'm pretty sure it's the same amount of silver. I think it's silver. And so he gives them, I guess we'll just do giving down here. I think it's like 30 talents or something. The Bible just uses stuff like terms like talents. I don't know how much a talent is. 30 T of silver, right? And then the first guy goes out in the world and comes back and brings his master like 60, right? Talents. He goes, I invested it and I just started a business and I made money and I brought you even more back. And the king goes, well, great. Well, then next time I'll give you even more. You were good and I will reward you. And then this guy goes, master, I brought you 90. I did even better. I went out and I started a business and everything. Brought you back 90. And the king goes, great, I'll give you even more responsibility. And then the third guy goes, master, I kept your talents safe and I brought you back your 30 talents. I held it for you. I kept it safe. And the master goes, you did nothing. You added nothing to the situation. And so I will not be giving you any more because you didn't do anything with it the first time. So this parable is something that I think Jesus says it. I'm pretty sure it's Jesus. And the parable, he uses it to teach about like how life works. People misinterpret a lot of things from the Bible and they think that this is about actually lending money, but it is more about this. That's what this is. That's what I'm referring to when I use that red arrow. It's coming back with more than you were given. And then when you do that, then like this is like life. It's like life or God or something. When you come back with more than you were given, life has a tendency to give you more. And then you can do more with that and bring that back. And then you get more and you bring that back. But if you do nothing or if you waste, then life has a tendency to give you less. You spiral down. I'm not sure if I have a really full understanding of why that is outside of human psychology. Like people recognize each other as someone who deserves or someone who is important. Another really good example of this is mate choice copying. mate choice copying, where if one guy has, lots and lots of girls around him, then other girls will like him, even if he's like maybe not that attractive or doesn't have that much money or doesn't have that much going for him. Like, you can have kind of a small, ugly guy enter a room surrounded by beautiful women, and all of the female attention will just go like, well, who's that? Why is he popular? All the other girls like him. Why should I like him too? Should I be over there competing for his attention? It's something that's so deeply rooted, like this principle, the Matthew principle. I believe it's the Matthew principle. Is so deeply rooted in the universe that women just do it unconsciously. They see a guy with lots of girls and they go, well, I better be another one. It manifests itself in many, many ways. So what was your question exactly? Is that what Jesus means by whoever has will be given more? Yes. Yep. I think that you got it just right. Tomas Ortegado says, is there a superior level that looks a lower level as better? Let's say you are 7, but you hear a level 6 or 5 who seems very intelligent to the point you think they're more intelligent than you. Although I guess this is more unlikely than likely. It's kind of a messy question. Let me see if I can understand it. Is there a superior level that looks at a lower level as better? Oh, so if you are on a higher level, but you're looking at someone at a lower level, would you ever say that better in what way is interesting, is a important part of that question? Better like I would rather be on that level, or better like that person is more effective than me, or more powerful than me? Let's say that you are level 7, but you hear a level 6 or a 5 who seems very intelligent to the point you think they're more intelligent than you. So, I mean, I, believe myself to be way up there in the cognitive development, but I very routinely meet people who are pretty clearly lower than me in cognitive development, but still know things I don't and have intellectual abilities that I don't. Like, you can have a lawyer who is at like level 4 or level 5, but is just very impressive at law. Is that what you're asking? It's not, when I see someone like that, I just appreciate how good they are at the thing. Like, if I have a really good lawyer, I go, wow, that guy's a great lawyer. He's really smart and stuff. But I don't think like, oh, him being on level 4 or 5 is what makes him a good lawyer and I wish I was. That's not how it works for me. I don't know if anyone does that. It's an interesting question, though. And yeah, at the end you say, I guess this is more unlikely than likely. For sure it is. Because once you go through a stage and you leave it, you can look back and recognize others at it. And you go, I used to be there, and they don't know that there's anything beyond it. Animal Video Edits sent me $1 and took the message back. And then sent me $2 and said, you have world map of easiest countries for dating. Do I? That sounds like a declarative. Are you telling me that I know that I have that I know which are the easiest countries for dating? I'm not a geography guy. I'm not that much of a geography and culture person. I'm more of a psychology. So I would not be able to comment on which countries are easiest for dating. So I guess the answer is no. Sorry. Zeldmast, message retracted. Tomas Ortegado said, yeah, more effective and capable. Okay, so if that's what you mean, more effective and capable, and that's my last question, by the way, so I'm going to go soon. If that's what you mean, then yes, especially people in the higher levels, 5 and beyond, people who are developed to 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, can very, very easily look at people at lower levels than themselves and still be able to say, oh yeah, that guy is more effective. Andrew Tate, for example. He spends a lot of his time in level 3. He speaks from it. He posts from it. He seems to be living his life according to it. It's not that he's necessarily limited to it, especially not cognitively, but in his life choices, in his life history, and the way he chooses to communicate. It's, it's like 3 and then like this much 4 and maybe this much 5. It's a lot of level 3. But when I observe his life, it's like, well, guy knows how to make money, and he does understand what makes women tick. So I'm capable of recognizing that, but it's not like, oh, I wish that I had that cognitive profile. So I don't know. I'm not sure if that got to your question exactly the way that you meant, but no, generally people who get to the higher levels do not look at people who haven't got there yet and envy them. Generally, there's always a person here and there who goes, oh, I wish I was dumb, so they didn't have to know anything. But, all right, I'm going to go to the live chat, and maybe some of you will get lucky and I'll answer your question for free. You'll get a small amount of home math attention for nothing. Who's here? Message deleted by, someone's cleaning up the chat. Thanks, Ninja. I didn't even know you were here. Want to talk to home math? Join this. Okay, cool. Yeah. Oh, you're doing a good job. I'm glad that I clicked on here. I did not know that you were even that helpful. I appreciate that. What did Fra Fra say? Oh, okay. You guys are talking about what Fra Fra said. How do I get a girl of my own level if they generally try to date up? I mean, so Ren Reinholz asked that question. How do I get a girl of my own level if they generally try to date up? Level is a tricky word for me because I don't know if you're talking about these levels or if you're talking about like overall attractiveness level. I'm going to assume that you're talking about overall attractiveness level. The way that you get a girl on your own level, despite the fact that girls try to date up, is that you look for one who doesn't. They do exist. So again, this is a bell curve thing. It's a distribution thing. You can view this as you'd have to swap them. I guess maybe I should do one like that. This would be like men who date up and women who date up. So like a lot of women try to date men, above them in the hierarchy, but some of them don't try as hard. So this would be, imagine this line is pink. This would be women trying pretty hard to get someone above her station in life. And then this would be women trying really, really, really hard. And this would be women trying about, take it or leave it. And then this would be women that don't care very much and women that don't care at all. There is a good portion of women that don't care very much or not at all. And I've dated women who made more money than me. I've dated women from higher social classes than me, and it didn't bother them. It will bother a lot of them, but not all of them. So you just have to look for a girl who is, emotionally developed enough to not care about that. It's not a universal rule. Let's see. Levels are a generalization. Well, I don't know if I would say they are a generalization. They're a great tool for placing generalizations into. But I don't know. I don't think you're wrong necessarily, depending on what you're trying to say there. Others have opined, but why do you think women are jealous of things men can do physically? Oh, dude, why wouldn't you be jealous? Have you ever been jealous of a guy who can like lift 400 pounds or one of those like parkour guys who like bounces up walls and stuff? Have you ever looked at that guy and gone like, oh, I wish I could do that? Have you ever looked at a guy who's taller than you and said, I wish I was tall? Like girls like that. I wish I was tall. You ever looked at someone more attractive than you? I wish I looked like that. So women are always looking at us picking up stuff and being physically imposing and just going, oh, I wish I had that ability. It's the same thing. Why wouldn't they want that? It's more power. Everyone loves power. Ibion here says a woman who does not want a better man is probably broken. That's the opposite of true. All of the women I've ever met who are like less into that, who don't need a guy to be, richer, more powerful, higher social class, making more money, they have been the ones that were the most intelligent, the most pleasant to talk to, the best to be around, the most, supportive and nurturing in relationships. It's much more likely at higher levels of emotional development for women to care less about, do you have more money than me? And they care more about, is it good to be around you, and do we bring good things into each other's lives? So the smarter ones are like that. Someone just sent a question. Did I get to all the questions? I'm going to go check again. I know that someone said I missed a bunch last time. Jay says, respect your mods. I think I'm respecting my mods. I just didn't know that they were there. I'm so disconnected. I've been so busy. I lost track of who's modding. I think that I have a 24-ounce water, so I think I drank 48 ounces of water in this last 2 hours, and I'm still thirsty. It's a weird day. D Cruz, I guess you guys did send some more questions. Any advice on seeing a sanctify level woman when one comes along? Yeah, and I've only met, I think, one. And she was really, really just peeking into it for the first time, and I was helping her figure it out. They're super, 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 super rare, and you shouldn't hold your breath. The likelihood that you're going to meet a woman who is at level 8, who's at the sanctify level, is probably one out of many, many, many thousands, maybe like 20, 40,000 under the age of 50. Most of the women at this level are going to be 50, 55, 60. I have met a handful of women at this level, and they were pretty impressive, and I liked them. I met an absolute ton of women at this level, and a ton at this level too, in this one. For some reason, well, I think I know what the reason is. I don't meet as many that are here, not as many. They kind of tend to be like, they go from the little girl, princess, brat stage to the, if they're in a red state, then they become like the country girl, America lover. And if they're in a blue state, then they become the irritating liberal, and they do the being like everyone around me. And then I think that women don't tend to like this stage as much because it puts a lot of responsibility on them. It's the achieve level. It's like, your life is about you and what you do. And some women deal well with that. But then they move up into this one where life is all about understanding, and it's all about, oh, everyone's valid and I can go give a lot of love and do girl things. And they tend not to move out of that level. So I have not met very many at level 7. I've met, I believe, only one dateable, physically dateable woman, although she was taken, who I would say was clearly at that level, and it was only just a tiny, tiny little bit. And I know how to identify them. So I would say don't hold your breath on that. But to answer your question more directly, how do you identify them? I'll get out the chart again. They're going to be really, really good at knowing what you're feeling and feeling it with you. And then also noticing when you know what she's feeling and feeling it with her. It's I called it interbeing. That's the sanctify level, interbeing. It's very hard to describe if you've never gotten close to this level. It's very hard to describe what interbeing is, but like if you start at the traditional marriage, wife does the dishes, husband is a construction worker, and then you move up to the modern achieve level where the wife has a job and does her PowerPoints or runs a business or whatever, and the husband is, staying at the office 60 hours a week and they're doing the modern thing. And then you go up to the hippie level where it's like, nah, man, we're not doing any of that anymore. Life is about being authentic, right? And then you have that couple. Then you move up to here. This is where most people start getting lost. And it's like, what comes after this is bringing everything all together, because this one is about authenticity and knowing who you are, and people tend to think that that's like the last stage. But then once you explore all that stuff, once you do all your exploring and try on the other, the other side of things, you get up to here and you kind of remember, it kind of comes all back together into one thing. And so you have the capacity to be equals, like at level 6, and opposites, like at level 4 and 3 and 2. The problem that's happening right now that I'm complaining about all the time is they want to be equals only. And it's like, but you can be equal without being equal in everything, because we are opposites in many ways. The relationships are usually centered on growth, whereas these people are, it's more like from here down, it's like you're the kind of person I am, or you're not. And that typically is seen the same way at all the early levels. Some of them still want growth, but growth in like you make more money and buy a bigger house would be level 5. But this one actually consciously evolves. It consciously develops, like each partner consciously develops the other. So if you are dating someone, or if you're, looking for women at higher levels, I would say just forget about this one for now, because it's probably not coming. But if you're looking for someone at this level, you should pay attention to how quickly and easily does she understand what you're feeling and thinking and what the world looks like from your eyes, and then like give you what you need to grow through it and get better, so that you can then do the same for her, so that she can give to you, so you can give to her, she can give to you, so you can give to her. That's what the interbeing is like. I have met a good number of women like that who are it's not just like, oh, I'll listen to you if I have to, and it's not just like oh, I'll do the dishes so that you can go to work, but it's like, I am recognizing who you are and what your struggles are in being who you are, and I'm here to like help you fill in the holes and help you understand yourself. If you can find someone who does that, then that is your clue that you're getting up into the higher stages. Tomas Orteado says, if I were to start with energy-related things, where should I start? If you mean by energy-related things, you mean this kind of stuff, just start with basic meditation. It'll help you feel your body more, and everything comes through the body. Everything is, all of the psychic meditation stuff, all of it comes through the sensory, starts with the senses. So just start with basic meditation. And, breathing exercises. And I guess the next step would be about, it would have to be a sensory exercise. It would have to be something that involves feeling. Like I have sat for a long time and just thought about how my body feels when I eat certain food. There was one time that I was just eating the same thing for breakfast every day, and then one time I just added mushrooms to it and I felt a little different. And I was like, okay, see, that's interesting. So it's different to be me when I have, like scrambled eggs and then scrambled eggs with mushrooms. It makes it very slightly different to be me with just the mushrooms added. And I paid a lot of attention to that sensation and the difference and exactly what that difference means. And when you can pay really, really fine attention to what you're experiencing like that, then that helps you move up the levels pretty quickly. And that's a good place to start with energy related things, if that's what you mean. I hope you weren't talking about like working in electricity. Zeld Mast says, I love the benefit security from Christianity and I want it, but I can't get behind it. Believing the obviously impossible makes me feel like a fool. What to do? Just pretend. Pretend to believe it for the people who believe it. Because not everybody is going to be able to cognitively grasp religion at a high level, and so they need like the fairy tale stories. You should be able to understand Jesus coming back from the dead as some people think it's literal, and some people think it's a metaphor, and some people think that it is distorted over time, and some people think that it's actually just like a spiritual thing that we haven't figured out yet, that this is a simulation and Jesus figured out how to leave it. And he gave us the instructions for, oh yeah, you don't have to be in this world and suffer. Here, look, I'll do a trick. I'll die and come back. Maybe it's real. And we just haven't figured that out yet because we're in a trap. Like the world is designed to trap you to keep coming, keep reincarnating. And Jesus was the only one who figured out how. You should be able to like cognitively process that all of those things are possible, or if they're not possible, then they are things that other people believe, and that you don't need to be on the same page as everyone else. There's levels of religion. You can be up here. You can be at a higher level and still talk to people at a lower level of the same religion. You don't have to be on the same page to be in the same community. Cobalt Serlin. Okay, you guys got to stop asking questions. I got to go. What is your stance on the 80-20 rule, how some men are taking measures to become more attractive to women, such as getting surgeries to look like the men? Okay, my stance on the 80-20 rule is a kind of a syntactically weird sentence because the 80-20 rule is just embedded into nature. But I think what you mean to ask is, what is my stance on men, like, destroying their bodies and manipulating their appearance to be more attractive to women? And my stance is I don't like fake. I don't like plastic surgery. I don't like makeup. I don't like when people, cut themselves up and add things and paint themselves to look different than they really look. I hate that. Some people don't care as much, but I view it as kind of immoral. I don't like the idea of fooling people. I guess that it kind of works. And my story is that I just got I lost fat and gained muscle, and then suddenly women were into me. So there are things that you can do to become more attractive that don't involve surgery. I think that stuff's sad. Kai Salas says, talk to Daisy Dahlia on Discord. Daisy Dahlia. Only girl I know that might be legit level 9. Okay, I think I recognize that name. I'm not an expert on Aqua, but she's definitely above 90% of women. Okay, I'll check it out. Thomas Orteado says, and to start on the energy theory. I don't know what you're asking, Tomas. I'm sorry. What's energy theory? Like what your last question was, if I were to start with energy related things, when you say energy related things, do you mean like spirit stuff? Do you mean feeling, the way the world is? Is that the kind of energy that you mean? There's a lot of different things that energy could mean. So I didn't understand that one. And then you said, and to start on the energy theory. So if this is the kind of energy that you mean, then what's energy theory? I don't know what energy theory is. Do you mean like the chakra system is energy theory? Because if that's what you mean, then you may as well just start with the stuff. You could go to the Ken Wilber stuff. If you want to learn about levels, and about, development and about the different types and stages of consciousness, you can start with Ken Wilber, you can start with Maslow, you can start with Piaget, you can start with any of that, or you can just read, you can go in the spiritual stuff too. I didn't. I started with Wilbur. I started with psychology. And also there's Kabbalah can be helpful, but it's way more esoteric. It's much more dense and kind of mysterious. They don't lay it out in black and white. They just sort of, there's a lot of symbols. It's magical. And then Jacob Wentworth, last one, and I'm leaving. Okay, Jacob Wentworth says, I'm here. I was watching President. Oh, right, the State of the Union. I was like, what is President, like a TV show I'm supposed to know? I hope that went well. Was watching President. I'm recording reaction videos to you. I think humility and discipline help us move up the levels in emotion and behavior. Yeah, humility and discipline work for some of them for sure. Some of the levels are really all about yourself, though, especially the lower ones. Like moving from level 2 to 3, you don't want more humility. You want to be like, I'm so awesome. I can do anything. I don't need to rely on these people. I don't need my mom. I don't need my dad to help me. I'm awesome. That's like going from level 2 to 3. So definitely at the higher levels, humility and discipline helps. At level 3, it's much more about like self-esteem and independence. And then Captain Slug Whisker sent me $1 and a picture of a cat, which was cute, I guess. It was nice of you. It's nice of all of you. I appreciate you all. Okay, I'm very dry and tired, and I'm gonna go. And here's Forlorn Leghorn again. Very sad chicken. All right. Good night, everyone.